We look now to Gaza, where Israel continues to expand its ground offensive. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said they were cutting up the Strip to establish a new so-called security corridor across the territory to pressure Hamas into releasing the remaining hostages. The extended buffer zone would cut off southern Rafah and a third of the north, which includes Gaza City, from the rest of the Palestinian territory. This comes on the same day as a wave of Israeli strikes killed more than 40 Palestinians. Let's take a listen to the Prime Minister.
We stepped up the operation in the Gaza Strip last night. The IDF is seizing territory, striking terrorists, destroying infrastructure. We are seizing the Morag corridor. This will be the second Philadelphia corridor because we are now cutting up the Strip and we are increasing the pressure step by step. So they give us our hostages. The more they don't comply, the more the pressure will increase until they do.
And to go further, I am joined now from London by Oliver McTernan, director of the NGO Forward Thinking, which aims to promote dialogue between Europe and the Gulf MENA region and inclusive peace process in the Middle East. Thank you for joining us, Oliver. If we look at the map of the projected area the Israeli military intends to extend the buffer zone to, it seems to be pushing the Palestinians west towards the sea. Where are the Palestinians expected to go?
Well, I think that is the intention, to make the conditions in Gaza so intolerable that you will get involuntary migration. Remember, just a week ago, they set up this special unit or special center where people can apply to migrate from Gaza. And I think this is all part of the original plan to try and depopulate Gaza.
And since the 18th of March, Israel has restarted its onslaught on the enclave. What are the Israeli government's justifications?
Well, in a sense, they're using the security reasons. That's always been there. And of course, it's a reflection on their relationship with Egypt. They're talking about that being used as a way of smuggling arms. It means that they're implying that the Egyptian security is doing nothing to prevent this. So I think it's for me, it's just an excuse to continue the war, because I think politically, Prime Minister Netanyahu needs to continue this war. He needed to ensure that he got his budget through. He succeeded in that. Now I think perhaps for all sorts of different reasons, he is determined to go ahead. And of course, every moment is putting the lives of not just the hostages that remain in Gaza at risk, but also the 2.3 million people. I think 68 people so far today have been killed. That's outrageous and shocking, given that Gaza is an occupied territory and the obligations of the Geneva Convention apply there equally as anywhere else.
And as you mentioned, the humanitarian situation is catastrophic, with Israel not letting any aid in since the 2nd of March. What tools are at the international community's disposal to put pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government into complying with international law?
Well, I think the first thing is to impose the international law, to ensure that the norms of the Geneva Convention, to ensure that those in your occupied territory, the citizens' lives are protected, to ensure that they have food and medicine, to ensure that there is no forced migration. The voice of Europe, I think in particular, is very, very weak on this. We say we adhere to the post-World War II rule-based order, but actually, when it's come to the test that it has in the past 15 months in Gaza, we seem to be very, very reluctant to apply it. And I think this has global implications. I don't think if we ignore the Geneva Convention, if the Israeli Supreme Court says that the rules, the international law doesn't apply in Gaza, which it did last week, I think we are in a very dangerous position globally, because what protects us as individuals are these rules and norms, and they're being ignored.
And the families of the hostages themselves have issued a statement calling on the Israeli government to focus on bringing home those still in Gaza and to stop the ground assault. Why the disregard from Netanyahu?
Well, I think from the beginning, right at the beginning, 15 months ago, he set two goals. One was the elimination of Hamas. The other was the release of the hostages. Now, you cannot negotiate properly for release of the hostages if at the same time you're pursuing a goal to eliminate those who are holding them. So I think that incompatibility has been his consistency. But I think his main drive has, because of the nature of his current coalition, his main drive has in fact been to keep the war going. And sadly, I think the West, American in particular, but I think Europe has also fallen well short here. We have in some way enabled this by not applying the norms and the rules of particularly the Geneva Convention, and say enough is enough. You cannot continue this war. It is morally wrong, and I think legally, I think it'll be proven to be also wrong.
And also, to add on, Netanyahu is subject to an international arrest warrant, but he is set to visit Hungary on Thursday. What is the goal for this visit?
Well, I mean, I am just unable to answer that. I find it extraordinary that we have an international court with an arrest warrant out for someone, and there we have a state that is benefiting from the taxpayers of Europe, actually inviting him and just totally showing disregard for what should be the core of our European unity and our European governance. I just find it staggering that he can do this at this time while people are in Gaza.
Thank you very much, Oliver McTernan, Director of the NGO Forward Thinking. Thank you very much for joining us.